All right, what's going on, everybody? What's happening tonight? This your girl Tiffany. I'm here live in effect. So tonight I want to cover up various topics that's been going on this past week. Um, the first topic I want to deal with rappers and gun violence. Then we're gonna talk about Kamala Harris and this whole argument, this nonstop argument about her ethnic background. And also, what is so toxic about femininity and masculinity? What's toxic about it? All right, so let's deal with the first topic. So the first topic is about rappers and gun violence. So as we all know, this past weekend, a rapper by the name of King Von was killed in Atlanta. All right. He was coming from a club that was located on Trinity Avenue. And there was some altercation with him and other guys. And there were shootouts going on. Now, here's the ironic part. The police was right there. The police was right at the scene. They were off-duty officers, and they tried to intervene on it, but that didn't stop the gun violence. That's an interesting part. They was doing all this in front of the police. Yeah. But anyways, what is my thought on this? This is nonstop. And obviously, this incident that happened had something to do with some type of gang war or street war. You know, it's sad for me to say this. I'm going to have to be very blunt. I'm going to be very, very, very blunt. A lot of those who's in the street, they don't want to get out of it. They want to live in that toxic lifestyle because that's what they're accustomed to. I don't think many want to get out of that. I think they just grown accustomed to it. And you hear them talking about live by the gun and die by the gun. You hear them talk about that, right? Well, look what's happening. And this is like the fourth or fifth rapper that done got killed in Atlanta. This is like the fifth rapper that done got killed out here in Atlanta. You know, and then the sad part is, you know, it makes me question. It makes me question about people's reputation. You know, you really claim to be a street gangster, right? You claim to be a low profile gangster. You don't snitch. You loyal, this, that, and other. Why would you put some of the stuff out there on social media? Why? If you got confrontation issue with another individual from another clique or another gang, why put it on social media? Why get on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter? Why get on your cell phone and discuss your beef to the world, to the public? Why? I thought that's something that you take care of behind the scene. You don't put it into the public's eye. Because now everybody knows how you're moving. Everybody knows what you're going to say. Everybody knows what you're going to think. And it ain't just your audience that's watching. It's the FBI. Because now you're giving them the leverage to come in and arrest you. So the question is, do you really know the code? Do you have the code? And ain't nobody got to snitch on you because you're doing it to yourself. You're telling on yourself. Your action speaks for itself. So you can't say, oh man, somebody done snitched on me. You doing it to yourself. So do you really live by that code that you're talking? No. And then you guys don't realize that what you're doing is not only detrimental to each other, but you're doing it, but it's also detrimental to your families, especially for those of you that have children. Y'all not taking into consideration, and I'm talking about those who doing these things, okay? You're not taking into the consideration of the fact that you have families, that you have children, and they have to suffer behind your action because you too busy trying to prove who better than who the biggest boss, who that real nigga on the street. While you got other crises going on. You got the white man that's laughing at your ass. You claiming some shit that you don't even own. You don't own the block. And I say this plenty of time. If the investors come in and take over your community, your neighborhood, ain't shit you can do about it. Ain't nothing you gonna do to stop it. What you gonna stop it? Nothing. So you claiming some shit over nothing. You claiming nothing, really. Then another thing, some of you dudes out here fighting over these females. I could see if you're protecting your woman in the case of the fact that she's endangered or if her life is being threatened. That's a natural thing because you got to protect your woman. But if your woman is going around here sleeping with other people, having relationship with other people, and you taking the other person's life because your woman decided to have sex with this person, then you ain't doing no justice. You're not doing no justice. You're gonna look stupid because at the end of the day, she gonna lay there with somebody else. And what you gonna do? You gonna take that person's life? And then, okay, now you going to prison. Now, while you're behind in prison, she gonna be somewhere laying there with another man. I think that a lot of these youngsters, and I also blame this to the old heads, especially the so-called OGs out there. I blame you guys too. I blame you guys because you have influenced and you have encouraged these type of behavior to take place with these youngins out here. You have encouraged them to go out here and live a destructive lifestyle instead of teaching them the discipline. And does music play a part of this? Absolutely. And there's some rappers that need to take accountability for the type of music they putting out because it's poisoning. And let's be honest, and we feed into the poison of this music because we like the production, we like the instrumental, we like the way the lyrics sound and all of that. But let's be honest with ourselves, these music are very destructive. It brings a lot of poison into our people. But when somebody want to rap about something positive and speak on positive things, they're considered as whack, corny, lame, etc. But let somebody talk about bang, bang, shoot, shoot, kill a nigga, bust a nigga up, fuck a bitch up, smack a bitch, I fuck your man, I fuck your bitch, and all that other shit. Let somebody put something out there. They the shit. They the top notch. They on top of that shit. They give recognition. They receive credit. So we're used to the toxicity. We're used to poison. We're used to things that are detrimental to us. You claim that you want progress and change, but you got to be the change that you want to see. If you're not trying to change as a collective, then there's no progress to be made. There's no sense of talking about change, change, change if you're not willing to make the step that's necessary. It's hard to have these conversations, and it's very redundant. It's very redundant to keep talking about gun violence, rap music, rappers who killing each other, people who gang banging and all that. It's very redundant. It's tiring, but it's gonna be brought up. The topic's gonna always come up because there's always an event that's taking place. I mean, what more can you say to these youngsters? They already have it in their mind. This is who they are. This is what they want to be. Sometimes you gotta see people gotta learn for themselves. Now, what happened to this brother, it could have been avoided. It could have not led to that point, but it did. There's a verse in the Bible, all right? I don't know what scripture exactly, but it says this: a wise person learns from a fool, and a fool learns from his mistake. And how does a fool become wise? Because he dies like a fool. I'm going to repeat that again. A wise person learns from a fool, and a fool learns from his mistake. And how does a fool become wise? He dies like a fool. If you don't get that, think about it. Because there's a lot of foolish people out here on both sides, not just males, but also females. And they know what they're doing is foolish, but they live in it. They're content in their foolishness. They're content in it. So they just gonna have to learn the hard way. It's very sad to be that way, but that's how it is. If that's what it's going to take for you to change and to do better by learning things the hard way, then that's just what it is. Now, these rappers, two of them dead. King Von and another rapper. I don't know the other rapper's name, but he's dead. And then one rapper had something to do with it. Then there's a talk that another rapper had something to do with it. So now they got to face legal issues. And not only they got to face legal issues, now they got to deal with the streets. Because, streets got justice too. I mean, come on now. All that could have been avoided. But nah, you know what I'm saying? You got people that just, very egotistical and feel like they got to prove something. They got to prove that who better than who the biggest boss, who can do the clap back, who got what title, over a bunch of nonsense. Because you ain't really proving nothing. At the end, both of y'all are losing. It's one thing if you're protecting your family. It's one thing if somebody violated somebody. I get it. But all this ego and this my blog, this my clip right here, come on. Next topic. I'll get back to that later. Let's talk about Kamala Harris. So everybody is upset about this meme with a picture of her and Ruby Bridges. Ruby Bridges happened to be a young African American girl in the 50s who happened to be the first to enter into a public school that was integrated. And that was in, I think it was in Little Rock, Arkansas. I believe it was Little Rock, Arkansas. But anyhow, people are offended because they see that the picture of Kamala Harris next to little Ruby Bridges. That's what they're upset about. Me, I look at it like this. I'm not offended. If that's what people want to do, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, okay. But guess what? There was many women that came before Kamala Harris that broke the door of opportunity. Now, yes, she happened to be the first woman to be vice president, etc. Okay. But when it come on a political level, there was a lot of women that done did it. Shirley Chisholm, she ran for president. Shirley Chisholm ran for president back in the late 60s, early 70s. The first congresswoman to do so, the first black woman to do so. So that little picture don't bother me. If that's what you want to post up, okay, go ahead and post it. Because I know better. I know there was more women that came before her that were actual freedom fighters. Because Kamala Harris was just a senator, and before that, she was a prosecutor. So I'm not upset. And then the nonstop argument about her ethnic background. People are still arguing about that. Why, I do not know for the life of me. I'm going to tell you, all right? And you can look this up for yourself. Kamala Harris is a biracial woman. She has African descent in her. Her father happened to be an African descended man from Jamaica. Her mother is Indian. She was born in Oakland, California. That's just what it is. She has the right, I repeat, she has the right to claim her African heritage because that's a part of her. So just because she's biracial does not mean that she don't have a right to claim that African side of her or to acknowledge that black part of her. She has that right. That's who she is. That's her bloodline. Okay, that happened to come from her paternal side. It is what it is. But y'all so focused on that, but y'all not forgetting the fact that what about her political views? What is she going to do when she gets into this office? What is her primary focus? That's what you should be looking at. That's what you should be paying attention to. Not sit up here and go tit for tat and back and forth about her ethnic background. Because guess what? Let's just say you did have a woman whose parent both African American or African descended. That wouldn't make no difference. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the political views. That's what's more important. It's the views of the individual. It's the mindset. So let's not just get so caught up on how she look. And if you want to be honest, yes, you got light-skinned black folks. Okay? You got light-skinned Africans. And they don't have to always be biracial. All right? Because it's very diverse. See, it's complicated. So you have to be careful with skin complexion or skin tone because it can be very tricky. It can be extremely tricky. So don't just get so caught up on the skin tone. And that's the bad thing about we get so caught up on how the person look because we have this colonized mentality. Light skin versus dark skin type of mentality. Oh, she's very bright. She's too light, so she must be biracial. She's too dark, so she can't be biracial. You don't know. You'll be surprised when you take a DNA test, you're not 100% like you thought you were. Because we're not 100% African. Okay? We just have a large percentage of African blood, but we have other components such as European components and possibly some Native American in us, possibly some Asian. You see what I'm saying? But overall, as far as your composition is concerned, as far as the majority is concerned, you're more African. You have an African bloodline. You have predominantly African genes, just like me. I took my DNA test. I have over 90% African gene. But I got no, take that back. I think it's 92% African gene. Yes, 92%, and 8% is European. So I have more African blood than I have European blood. And these come from generations. So it is what it is. Just like Europeans are not purely European like they think. They're not 100% European. They have some of them have some African blood. There's those of them that have Asian blood. It may not be a large percentage, but they got some minority blood in them. They do. They just don't want to talk about it. They ain't going to bring it up because they're caught up on being predominantly, they're caught up on being predominantly European. That's what they're caught up on. They're caught up on that privilege of being a European, the white privilege. They're not going to talk about the other side of them. And so, yeah, we all got some Neanderthal genes. We just got a small percentage of Neanderthal genes. Europeans have about 4%? 4 to 5% Neanderthal genes, European and Asian. But us African people or African descendants, especially those in the diaspora, we have some small percentage of Neanderthals in us. That's just what it is. It is what it is. The Homo sapiens, they mixed in with the Neanderthals and they carried on some of their genes. So it is what it is. That's why it's important that we got to study more into science so we can get clarification and have some understanding behind these things. So we just won't get caught up and be back and forth about, oh, this person light skin, that person dark skin, and yin. You got to study the science. You got to understand that humans were migrating out the continent, going elsewhere, and coming back and migrating again. So it happened. It is what it is. All right. Now, the last topic I want to get on, the very last topic I want to talk about is what is toxic masculinity, toxic femininity? How is masculinity is toxic? How is femininity is toxic? Now, I spoke with somebody, and Their argument is that it's a psychological disposition. Okay? It's not literal. It's a psychological disposition. But let me say this. When people talk about somebody being toxic masculine or toxic feminine, they're speaking from a literal perspective, not the psychological perspective. They're speaking literally, based on your action. Oh, that's toxic femininity right there. Oh, that's toxic masculinity over there. That's what they're speaking on. And then I get that this is a whole generation, but let me show you the politics. See, what people got to understand that we're living in a world that's based on philosophies and politics, sociopolitics at that. Okay? You live in a liberal contemporary society. That means that this society is not just based off of tradition anymore. All right? It's not so conservative. It's very liberal. So the people that's dealing with these psychology studies or whatnot, 9 times out of 10, they coming from a liberal perspective. I'm going to be straight up. They coming from a liberal contemporary perspective. No matter where you go, there's going to always be politics. There's going to always be philosophies. That's just the type of world we're living in. So if you represent this group right here, then you're going to have opponents over here. If you represent that group over there, then there's your opponent over there. That's how we live. Why you think that celebrities, for example, they're afraid to give, certain celebrities are afraid to speak their point of view about certain things. Why? Because they're dealing with politics. And by them knowing the political game on the level, when we talk about social level, they have to be mindful and use coded words or pretend like they agree with something just so they can remain relevant and they can protect their income. So anything that you got to do to make sure you're protecting your money, your investment, and stay relevant is to play along with the politics. So you got those who have disagreements on the low key, but because they're out in the opening, in the mainstream, they have to play along with the politics. Or otherwise, they're going to lose. I'm going to give you a great example, right? If you guys ever looked at the interview with Steve Harvey and Monique was addressing Steve Harvey about the racism and the sexism, right? And then before that, she had issues with Tyler Perry, Lee Daniels, Whoopi Goldberg, and Oprah Winfrey. She said that Oprah had blackballed her. Tyler Perry tried to pay her $500,000 to not speak out. Okay? And she felt like Steve Harvey didn't speak up for her, didn't say anything. And Steve Harvey, his position was, it's not that I didn't want to speak up for you, but because we're playing such a political game here, and this is business, there's a way that you have to conduct yourself and handle yourself. There's certain things that you can say and that you cannot say. There's a certain way, and if you have an issue, you have to deal with it in an appropriate manner. So that was his argument. So her thing was, I get what you're coming from. I understand it. But for me, it's integrity over money. In other words, it's about being honest and being open about things and pointing stuff out than just focusing on the wealth. And it's not that she didn't care about money or whatnot, but she just wanted to be able to speak her truth and speak on her experience about what was going on in the industry. But Steve Harvey, on the other hand, said, no, you got to play the politics. If you cannot, you got to play your cards. You got to play the hands that you're dealt with. If you can't play the hands that you dealt with and you don't play the cards, then you're going to end up losing. That's what he was trying to get to her. And he wasn't the only one that was saying that. Whoopi Goldberg was saying the same thing to her, basically, in a nutshell. In a nutshell, Whoopi Goldberg was saying the same thing to her. That, look, you can't just do it the way you want to do it and think that you're going to be heard. You can't just, because Monique did a stand-up comedy where she said all three of them could suck her D-I-C-K. And Whoopi felt like, well, you know, you can't do it that way. You can't just be very blunt about it. You got to be more conservative and you got to be more, you know, you got to be more respectful when you approach a situation like this. So saying this to say that is, you got to play along with the politics. If you really want to get by, you got to deal with the politics. You got to deal with the philosophy. That's what you got to deal with. And it's going to always be that case. Now, for me, getting back to the point about masculinity and femininity, there's no such thing. Because femininity is a characteristic trait of a woman. Masculinity is a characteristic trait of a man. So that's not toxic at all. What makes a person toxic is their behavior, their mentality. That's what makes them toxic, not the traits. Because you're feminine, femininity is not equate to toxicity. Masculinity is not equate to toxicity. It's the person's action. It's their behavior. So you can't make that inclusive. You can't put all that together into one nutshell, because that's not fair. Because that's just like basically saying that any woman that carry on femininity, she's toxic. Or any man that's masculine, he's toxic. That's not right. So no, I don't agree with that term or those two terminology. Because there's no such thing. It makes no sense. It's not logical. Now, do you got crazy ass people out here? Absolutely. Do you have delusional ass people? Absolutely. Do you got people that's illogical? Yes, absolutely. But we can't equate that to being feminine or masculine. You can't equate that. To me, and I'm going to be straight up, to me, that's an oxymoron. That's an oxymoron. The two don't go together. Because it's an oxymoron. It doesn't equate to that. It doesn't make sense. Oops. And that's my thought. Now, getting back to what the initial topic was. Rappers and gun violence. Rappers and gun violence. Okay? I mean, I don't know what to say about these generational rappers. It seems like more and more of them are dying, and they don't even get a chance to see their career rising. They don't even get a chance to even get to the height of their success. Are you trying to get away from the streets, or are you going back to the streets on a higher level? I mean, you already got one little rapper, a clown at that. He under protective service because he can't be out in the public's eye. He can't go nowhere by himself because folks want to come after him. So he got to be under protective service. Peace, brother guy. Peace, brother. Thank you for coming on there, and thank you for having me on your show. So, yeah, those are my thoughts for tonight. I just want to get them out the way because I was thinking and I said, you know what? Let me just go ahead and do a video about this, and let me just put it out there, put my thoughts out there. But ladies and gentlemen, please be careful. All right, be careful. Be careful what you do, who you're around, who you interact with. Be careful who you let in your house. And just stay more aware. Be more cautious. Be more wise. And another thing I want to address. This whole, look, I'm so sick and tired of the brain dead black folks out here. I really am, because quit telling people that they need to vote Democrat all the time. Stop that shit. Stop telling everybody to vote Democrat. Tell people to think, use their logic instead, and look at policy. Stop saying vote Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. Stop that shit. Just because somebody represents a Democratic Party, especially if they're a person of color, does not mean they're going to always represent or stand behind what you think they will. You got to learn how to carefully analyze. See, that's the issue. Like, people just got this habit of jumping on bandwagons. But when Ice Cube tried to show you guys how it should be done, and this is what should be taking place, people jump at his throat when he was only trying to help, when he was only showing you got to look at both sides of the party. You got to see who got the better views. What can they offer? But y'all jumped at his damn throat, and that's fucked up. That's really fucked up. Y'all full of it. Some of y'all full of shit. Yes, and I said you full of shit. Y'all call this man all kind of coon and shit after he done told y'all motherfucking asses several times that that's not what he's trying to do. He not trying to be no goddamn coon. He not trying to represent no political party. He just want to see what representative or what politician has the best agenda when it comes to African Americans. But we crying about reparation. We crying about we need this, we need that, but we're not looking at either party. We want to jump on bandwagons. That's bullshit. That's fucked up. Stop telling people that vote Democrat all the damn time, man. Because all you're doing is leading them down to the state of detriment. Teach these people how to think for themselves. Get people to really understand what politics is all about. Not just jump on the bandwagon. Get people to ask questions. And everybody celebrating Joe Biden, throwing the party up, having a good time. Hey, doing all that. But y'all forget. Y'all totally forgot what his position was. Don't be celebrating too much. Don't get your panties in a bunch. Don't celebrate too hard, because otherwise you're going to be distracted and you're going to lose focus. You better pay attention. You better be careful. That's all I got to say. Don't get your panty in a bunch, man. Don't be so quick to celebrate. It's good that Trump is out the office, because Trump wasn't doing shit about this COVID any goddamn how. You know, he wasn't trying to listen to any scientists. But let's not get our panty too much in a bunch. Stay focused at all time. And that's it. Because what y'all doing is y'all going to hibernate. Y'all going to take your asses back to sleep. You better pay attention. And that's that. So, anyways, with that being said, you guys, this your girl Tiffany. And I appreciate you all watching this video. So if you want to go ahead and share the video, you're more than welcome to do so. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell whenever I come on. Share the channel. All that great stuff. And until next time, I will reconnect with you guys. But until then, may peace and power and elevation be to you all. And if you want to donate to the Cash App, as you can see across the screen, you're more than welcome to do that. I could take that if you're willing to do so. But other than that, take it easy. Be safe. And be careful. All right? Thank you, guys. So, peace. All right.